statistics earlier this week. Areas such as Inanda and Ntuzuma in the Durban Metro and Plesleya in Pietermaritzburg remain among the country's top 10 hotspots of crimes, including cash-in-transit heist and hijacking of trucks. Dries Liebenberg reports.
Across KwaZulu-Natal, 19 of the 30 crime categories have shown a decrease in the number of counts that have been registered by the police between July and September, compared to the same period last year. These include murder, which is 10% down, rape, down by 3%, and carjackings, down by 17%. The statistics also show that house robberies have decreased by 14 cases to 1,357. Housebreakings and theft of motor vehicles in the province are down by 13 and 6% respectively. I am Dries Liebenberg for SABC News in Durban.
Electricity and Energy Minister Josientu Ramogopa says that Eskom's drive to recode prepaid electricity meters has exposed millions of people who have been using power without paying for it. He, however, says the process was not a ploy to catch out illegal electricity users. Ramogopa held a media briefing in Cape Town during which he provided an update on the process whose deadline was at the weekend.
When I was engaging with some of the people on the queue, they make the point that the last time they've bought electricity was in 2018. So essentially, people have been consuming for free. This exercise that we've been doing is not a credit control instrument. The credit control will come in the normal course of events, but I think what Eskom will do is the intensification of that exercise.
Residents of Westbury and Coronationville in Johannesburg are calling on government to urgently intervene in the water crisis in their area. This morning, scores of residents embarked on a protest over daily water cuts for the past 4 years. They have used rocks and debris to blockade several roads. Police are monitoring the situation. Resident Nathan Jones.
I want the government to fix it. Look here, we're sitting years without water now. How long can we sit like this? If this was in Soweto, they would have burnt the place down long ago. But us, they're putting us in the vans for burning tires. What is it? The government needs to cooperate with us. They need to tell us what they're going to do in order to rectify the situation. Last time we were out here, they told us we're going to put the water on. The water was on for 2 days. Next day, off again. So what is it? It's just to make us feel nice. No, boss.
The South African Weather Service has issued an alert for KwaZulu-Natal. It's for heavy rainfall, which could lead to flooding and damage to infrastructure, especially in the northeastern parts of the province. It has called on residents to take the alert seriously and seek updates. Forecaster Tandiwe Gumede.
We have a yellow level 2 for severe thunderstorms, accompanied by hail, strong damaging winds, lightning, as well as heavy downpours. The areas that are in the northeast that are expected to be covered by the yellow level 4 include district municipalities like Umkhanyakude, King Cetshwayo, the northern parts of Ilembe, Zululand, as well as parts of Umzinyathi district.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has announced additional aid of $2.4 billion or more than 40 billion rand to help reconstruct Valencia. This after the deadliest flash floods in Spain's modern history. Sanchez has been defending his government's record after last month's floods in which 220 people were killed. The BBC's Guy Hedgecoe reports that the central and regional governments are blaming each other.
The central government says that the regional government of Valencia failed to use the powers that it had to deal with this crisis. It failed to warn the people of Valencia in a timely fashion, and that therefore many lives were lost, around 220 lives lost on that day. The local government of Valencia, by contrast, and the Conservatives who govern there, say that the central government had powers that it should have used, that it could have acted in a more timely fashion. It could have, for example, sent the army in to help.
Recapping the top story, the SAPS says nearly 1,500 extortion cases have been reported in the country since April. I am Ondalambara for SAFM News Headlines at 1:30.
Ask a man. Ask a man who's late for work after his car got hit by a truck, desperately waiting for help, if he's glad he saved 14 Rand on his insurance premium. Ask a man if buying the cheapest insurance was really worth it. And now ask yourself, when suddenly happens, who's there for you?
Auto in general. Car insurance with Auto SOS. Emergency accident detection and response. Visit autogen.co.za for a quote. Auto SOS is available to comprehensive car customers. A&G is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Malian team, Stade Malien, are on a big mission to triumph in their own backyard. But Stellies of Mzansi Africa want to open their Group B curtain with maximum points in Bamako. This is the Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup. Experience the delight of African football. Stade Malien de Bamako FC versus Stellenbosch FC on Wednesday, 27 November at 6 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Specsavers now looks after your hearing as well as your vision with Specsavers Audiology. With 60 stores and counting, we are South Africa's largest audiology group. For a limited time only, buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right. Buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. Find your nearest store at specsavers.co.za. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I was recently diagnosed with myelodysplastic syndrome. Patients like myself go through a long and strenuous journey to get a stem cell transplant. I am grateful for the support I've received as I wait for the call that my donor has been found. This Sunflower Month, be a lifeline to patients like myself by registering to become a stem cell donor. You can save a life by registering at dkmsafrica.org.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Bongo Muffin coming through with Kura Una. That is the name of the song. Released back in 2006, this one, and it won a South African Music Award for Best Duo Group of that respective year. And they've given us an incredible discography of music. If you grew up around the late 90s, early 2000s, then no doubt you have an appreciation for everything that Bongo Muffin, for everything that Bongo Muffin was for the South African music industry. It is turning out to be a rather gloomy day in Johannesburg. It seems as though the weather is turning on us relatively fast this afternoon. Woke up to a sunny day, but right now we are seeing a complete blackout with dark skies. So I wonder what the weather is looking like in your part of the country. Hopefully a little bit better than what it seems to be shaping up to be this afternoon where I'm at. We've got a relatively light show for you because there's so much going on. We thought that perhaps you'd want a bit of a break from the analysis of yesterday's groundbreaking Constitution court case that was presented by the EFF and the ATM in the Constitution Court. So we thought you might want to move away from that for just a moment. And we figured you probably want also a little bit of a breather from the proceedings that are happening with the Senzo Mayiwa court case right now. And we thought, well, let's have a conversation about the case of living lightly in a wasteful 21st century. And this is on the back of an opinion piece that was featured in the Daily Maverick. And we're going to be chatting with research associate with the Center for Applied Ethics from the University of Stellenbosch around that. And then we're also going to catch up with actor extraordinaire and producer Warren Masemula. We're just going to have a quick catch up with him, find out what's been going on. In fact, he was on social media, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. It was trending on the social media platforms, not for his acting, but for his perseverance. In the in-between moments, he seems to also be a fresh produce entrepreneur. So maybe we'll touch on how that facet of his life is going. A lot of people were expressing just how proud they were of him for having the ability to be resilient and try other things outside of the creative sector. We're in for a special treat today. They were actually hanging out with Kutlwana over the weekend, and they had such a great time that they decided that they're going to come through and bless us as well with their angelic voices. The Drakensberg Boys Choir is going to be live in studio after 2 o'clock, and we'll tell you more about that and that performance. Yes, they're going to perform with us, for us live in studio after 2 o'clock, so you don't want to miss that. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call. Just casting my eyes on the television, I see that it seems as though that story coming out of Westbury, just down the road from us, is developing quite rapidly today as well. Those protests started yesterday. On my way to SABC, I actually drove past Westbury coming from Soweto side. So I drove down past Westbury. Waze took me there. And already yesterday there was road closures that closed the main artillery road that eventually becomes Empire. And I didn't quite know what was going on at the time. I found out only when I got to the station that there had been some service delivery protests happening there. So you can always also, by the way, just weigh in on the state of service delivery in your neighborhood. We'd love to know whether or not you are finding slow satisfaction in 2024. Are things improving by way of service delivery in your neighborhood? Or perhaps things are worsening, or they've just become stagnant over the years and you're feeling an even more deepened sense of disappointment and depletion from your end. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on.
Whatever your need for a personal loan, choose a bank that's best for your loans. Nedbank offers loans of up to 400,000 Rand at the best possible interest rate. And there's more. Open a MyGoals Plus or MyGoals Premium account, and you could enjoy 200 Rand cashback every month for the duration of your loan term. That's up to 14,400 Rand cashback. Visit netbank.co.za to apply for your tailored personal loan. See money differently. Netbank. We are a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Ever tried to paint a wall with only a brush? Or hung a picture on just a nail and a prayer? The contestants on My Design Rules will be the first to tell you good design starts with the right tools. Tune in to My Design Rules every Sunday at 7 p.m. on SABC3 and stand a chance to win a weekend away in the winning apartment. From beginner projects to expert builds, Buco has the tools and materials you need to get the job done. Ready to kickstart your next DIY project? Begin with Buco. Buco.
Imagine if every child born today and tomorrow and the next day and the next had enough love, enough food, enough safety and brain power. Today and tomorrow and the next day and the next. Together, we will change our future. Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
It's Black Friday. You're ready to score that brand new shiny smart TV you've had your eyes on. The deals are insane. 4K resolution, endless apps, the works. You rush to the store, grab your dream TV, and then wham! Wait, what's this? A TV license? Oh no, you didn't pay for it. Now you're stuck with possible penalties and no TV. Avoid the heartache and pay your TV license before you rush off to your new love this Black Friday. It's quick, easy, and way cheaper than penalties. Pay your TV license today at tvlic.co.za. Act now and enjoy your new TV without any worries.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Alrighty, let's have a conversation now, just looking at how we go about living lightly, especially in a wasteful 21st century, what perhaps that might look like. We are joined in conversation by Skalk Engelbrecht, who's a research associate with the Center for Applied Ethics at the University of Stellenbosch and a research fellow at the Stellenbosch Business School. How are you doing this afternoon, Skalk?
Good afternoon, Bridget. I'm doing well. I'm also in Joburg, actually, not too far from you are. Where you are. So I'm also experiencing here in Empire, on Empire Road. Actually, you must have gotten up late, Bridget, because there was rain at 6 o'clock. Then there was sunshine, and now we are in darkness. We are in darkness.
Listen, I tell you, unpredictable weathers, right? And this maybe even somehow ties into the opinion piece that you'd written today, that you'd written in the Daily Maverick. And you sort of write as an opener, living lightly could be described as the attempt to live a life that, instead of seeking to dominate the environment that sustains us, but pursues a balance or partnership with our surroundings. Let's start off there, and you giving us the context around, your thoughts and the sentiment around the piece.
Thank you, Bridget. Yes, I think the weather is definitely relevant to what we're talking about. When we're talking about living lightly, we're trying to avert some of the weather we're seeing across the globe. That's potentially part of what motivated me. But I want to a little disclaimer or a caveat. Whenever you start talking about environmental ethics, then you have to be careful, because people might think that you are judgmental or that you are a self-hating human being, and sometimes I am. Human beings aren't always the nicest of species, but the start here is really the love of the world. I mean, really enjoying living on this planet, and just thinking, are there ways for us as human beings to live that would be better for this world that we like so much. So what you were saying about living lightly and this idea of living in balance with nature, or with our surrounding, or in partnership. So just to give you it's a bit of philosophical, but we enjoy philosophy. Just to give you a bit of background. So at present, so our lifestyles, our choices, our ethics is informed by our ideas about the world and about our place in the world. And today, if you want to think about what it means to be a good person, an ethics that's appropriate for 2024, for today, amid a climate breakdown, has to challenge this idea of what we might call human exceptionalism, that we are above nature rather than part of nature. At the moment, our mindset, sometimes in philosophy they call this anthropocentrism. Our mindset is humans are the center of the universe. The world, in a sense, belongs to us. We recently had COP29, that's a big climate conference. It was very controversial, but the host, the president of the host country, opened by calling oil and natural resources gifts from God. Now that was a very controversial statement, but it kind of demonstrates what I'm talking about, this idea that we think everything belongs to us, they're gifts to us for us to use. But today, if we want to keep living on this planet and have a semi-decent life, we have to kind of push people off the pedestal a bit. We have to kind of decenter human beings. We have to realize that from the perspective of the universe, we don't have a very a special privileged status. Our interests aren't more important than the interests of other species or our surroundings. In fact, we are dependent on these things, much like they are dependent on us. So instead of thinking like we're currently thinking, the world belongs to us, we should be thinking we belong to the world. So that's maybe the start, and I think in the extension of that, we might start to live differently. I'm sure we'll still talk about that, but if you want to kind of a little golden rule, a new ethics rule that's not that new, to kind of summarize how we should think about this, I'm going to borrow something from an environmentalist called Aldo Leopold, and he's got a little golden rule that you could call the land ethic. He says something is right when it preserves the integrity, the stability, and the beauty of the biotic community. The thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, the stability, and the beauty of the biotic community. So if we live in a way that kind of keeps the beauty, the stability, and the integrity of our environment, that's what we should be aiming for, and what we're not quite doing at the moment.
So when we talk of human exceptionalism, right, as you say, this idea that we are above nature, how can then we begin to acknowledge that interdependence with other species and really just understand how that should begin to reshape our environmental choices and our environmental ethics?
Thanks, Bridget. So I think we can start doing two kinds of things. One is more, I want to say, to change our mindset, and the other one is more to change our impact on the world. So the first kind of thing, I think, is we need to start doing things and getting into the habit of things that changes our mindset towards nature. Some people have called it, we have to learn to be rightly orientated towards nature. So we need the right mindset. How do you kind of change your mindset from the world belongs to me? Everything in our environment has instrumental value, humans have intrinsic value. How do we change that? I think simple ways is just start to go outside, not while it's raining and dark like now, but walk in a park, go to a green belt near you, walk on a daily basis, feed the birds in your garden, feed the birds on your balcony, grow a vegetable patch, kind of get your hands in the earth and kind of learn to develop a bit of a sort of wonder, a love for the world. So get a favorite tree. I'm sure if you had to think now, is there a tree that you have a special memory about? I'm sure you could identify one, but the first thing is just to kind of start thinking and interacting with the environment differently. I have a friend who talks about taking forest baths, bath yourself in nature. That sounds I know it sounds a bit hippie, but we have good role models. There's a poet called Mary Oliver, and you can just read her poetry if you want to find out what I mean. All of her words kind of reflect a kind of gratitude and a belonging and a wonder about the world. That's the first kind of thing. That is just ways of kind of changing our mindset to get rightly orientated to nature. The second thing is more practical. How do I start having less of an impact. And just to kind of give you some of the bad news, I mean, we generate mountains of unnecessary waste, human beings, every year. In Joburg, our landfills, they say, are about 3 years from capacity. We're generating too much trash, and a lot of it unnecessarily. So how can we start working on that? There's a couple of things I think we can start doing to minimize our impact on the world collectively. Now that's something that the individual can't immediately do, but collectively we're going to have to start using land differently. So we need to stop burning down the Amazon rainforest for palm oil or for more cattle farms. But individually, I think we have to start by changing our diet. This doesn't have to be a deprivation. You don't have to think of this as now I have to become a monk and I have to stop doing all the things that I like doing. It just means potentially eating less meat. That would be the first thing. And also eating the seasons, making sure that the vegetables and the fruit that you buy are in season and that they're grown locally. That's the first thing. Then secondly, start reducing your waste. I mean, I did this experiment a while ago, and it's frightening actually. Just make a list every time you throw something in a waste basket, and in 1 or 2 or 3 days, see what kinds of things you use for 2 minutes and then you discard. And then start thinking, what are some of those things that we can rid ourselves of? I don't need to take a takeaway cup of coffee every time I get coffee. I could take my own mug. I mean, those are small things. You can ask questions about why do we package one banana or one a green pepper in plastic. All of those small things I think we can start doing, and then seeing are there ways of reducing that. And as I said, that doesn't mean we have to start becoming monks. You might find it very interesting to experiment with different kinds of foods and finding a market where you can get fresh produce instead of getting the packaged ones from a supermarket. So,
Schalk, let's pause it there for a second as we take the headline news, and then we'll come back on the other side and we'll continue our conversation around, of course, just living in harmony with our environment, and perhaps as you pose the question of the weight of legacy and what constitutes a worthy legacy moving, into the 21st century. It's just gone 1:30 on The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. It's time for the headline news.
Thank you, Bridget. In the news headlines on SAFM, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good day. The SAPS says nearly 1,500 extortion cases have been reported in the country since April. The policy's latest quarterly crime statistics show that the number of murders, rapes and robberies in KwaZulu-Natal decreased between July and September compared to the same period last year. And Poland and Ukraine say they've made progress in resolving a historical dispute over massacres during the Second World War. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. Ask a woman. Ask a woman stranded on the side of the road with her 2 young crying children whether she is glad she was able to get her latest insurance quote in under 90 seconds. Ask a woman if she feels anyone is there for her. And now ask yourself, when suddenly happens, who's there for you?
Auto and General. Car insurance with 24-hour roadside assistance with live progress tracking. SMS CAR to 43365 for an obligation-free insurance quote. A&G is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
The Malian team, Stade Malien, are on a big mission to triumph in their own backyard. But Stellies of Mzansi Africa want to open their Group B curtain with maximum points in Bamako. This is the Total Energies CAF Confederation Cup. Experience the delight of African football. Stade Malien de Bamako FC versus Stellenbosch FC on Wednesday, 27 November at 6 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For 30 years, we've stood together, advancing collective action to end violence against women and children. But the fight is far from over. Your voice matters. Every action counts. From educating our communities to supporting survivors, it's time to unite and create a future free from fear. Join SAFM for 16 days of activism. Together we can make a difference. Together we can end the violence. Because 30 years of progress means we cannot stop now. Let's advance the fight. Stand up, speak out, take action. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
We are in conversation with Skalk Engelbrecht, who is a research associate with the Center for Applied Ethics at the University of Stellenbosch. And of course, we're just looking at our interactions with the environment around us and how do we embrace humility. And of course, the kinds of legacy that we leave behind. And in part, in the opinion piece, you also interrogate the weight of legacy and what constitutes a worthy legacy in the 21st century, and how we can perhaps contribute to a future that balances progress with sustainability.
Thank you, Bridget. Yeah, I don't get me wrong when I say we have to be more humble as human beings, and we should challenge human exceptionalism. That doesn't mean that I don't like people. I love people, but I also love sunsets, and I love trees, and I love Scottish hoopoes and rivers. And I think that's kind of, if we can find a way of preserving both of those, that would be fantastic. And I think in that opinion piece, I was a bit critical about the legacy that we're leaving, and what I was saying is we're generating, human beings have made such wonderful things. We've made cathedrals and we've written plays and poems, but at the moment we're creating costs for future generations, and we're also creating mountains of waste and graveyards of fast fashions and deserts and these kinds of things. So the question is, what would be a more worthy legacy, as you were asking, and how do we balance progress and sustainability? I was thinking about this. You might know that this week we lost a wonderful South African writer and an anti-apartheid activist, Bridget Masinga. And the reviews of his life were just wonderful. And if one asks about a worthy legacy, this would be an example. And I thought there were two things that stood out. The one thing about Bridget Masinga was that he was on the right side of history. He consistently criticized apartheid, and he was arrested for that. The second thing he left behind was something beautiful. He left. Now I'm someone who likes literature and poems, but he left behind amazing words. If you've read poems like Ek stuur vir jou rooibos duif, or a variety of his writings, you'll see. So I think if we think as individuals, what can we leave behind? Try and be on the right side of history, first of all, and secondly, try and leave something beautiful behind. Now, I like buildings and poems, but for someone else, it might be something different, to try and see what is it, what something of aesthetic value am I leaving after me, but then also, on what side of history, what would be the cause where you want to say afterwards that I was on the right side of this? For me, it would be our treatment of non-human animals. I think the way that we treat animals for our diets, the daily ongoing torture, is something that we will be judged for by future generations. And I hope that would be one of the causes that I would like to be on the right side of. That's individually. The last thing about a legacy and a worthy legacy is I think collectively we might want to leave something for the future generations. And because my background is in ethics and philosophy, I wonder if we can't leave for future generations a better character. And we know individuals with character. Those are people who demonstrate fairness and integrity and care. But can we, as a species, kind of leave behind a better character? The character at the moment is of extraction, it's of scarcity, it's of consumption. I wonder if we can start developing new values that we leave for the next generation, where instead of extraction, scarcity, waste potentially, instead of that we leave kind of values of, we've mentioned humility, but maybe also temperance, just using the things that we need to use in a way that to quote Leopold again, that sustains the integrity and the stability and the beauty of our surroundings. Then also mindfulness, kind of just a character of being mindful of where the things come from that we use to sustain our own daily lives.
And when you speak about mindfulness, Skalk, I wonder if this is something that perhaps is, something that South Africans are particularly preoccupied about, because there are societies worldwide that are mindful about the impact and the imprint that they leave on the environment, right? And they've taken those tangible steps in various ways to be a bit more conscious in their livedness. But I wonder, South Africans, just from the outside looking in at who we are as a people, it doesn't seem like it is something that preoccupies our daily existence, the sense of mindfulness of how we move and exist with and within the environment.
Yeah, there's so much to say about this. It's potentially because in developing countries like South Africa, we have a lot of other things that worry us. Maybe before we start, maybe on our priority list of things that we worry about that are morally intense for us, we might start with inequality, we might start with poverty, we might start with just infrastructure, water, and access to these things, before we start asking about potentially which is the topic today, kind of our environmental existence and our environmental actions. So that might be one reason. I think two reasons why we don't take, kind of as individuals, active steps to change our behaviors is, one is we are often removed from the consequences of our consumption. We don't know where exactly the meat comes from. We don't know exactly where the shampoo comes from. We're often, by the time we interact with these products, they're already very neatly packaged. So we're kind of removed from that. That's the first thing. We're also removed from the consequences. I'll tell you about that in a moment. And the other thing is, everyone does it. We don't see a lot of examples of people around us that are a bit more mindful about these things. It's I don't know if you remember a television series, a comedy series a while back called The Good Place. There was an episode where they kind of jokingly said that it's impossible to get into heaven today, and it's impossible because even if you try and do the right thing, you say, I'm going to eat less meat, I'm going to eat vegetables, and you buy tomatoes. You don't know, was this tomato, is it actually from Brazil? And the carbon cost of getting it here was very expensive, and actually it was harvested by child labor. We don't know our own supply chains. So that's what I mean by mindfulness. Is not, I don't think we all have to be regulators and Sherlock Holmes, and you have to make sure exactly where everything comes from, but we can start being a bit more curious about where our food comes from, where our clothes come from, where our appliances come from, and where they end up. If I can give you one or two examples. One example maybe is eggs. And these days we go to grocery stores, and there are more progressive grocery stores, and they'll tell you that this is free range chicken, etc. But if you start asking, just being a bit curious about this, you might find that most of the eggs that we have access to today involve a practice they call beak trimming. I'm sorry to go into the details here, but beak trimming is a euphemism for something terrible, and that is cutting off of painful cutting off of chickens' beaks. Why do they do that? Well, they do that because the chickens that produce our eggs don't really have enough space to live in. They're very kind of crowded, so they start being frustrated, they start pecking at one another. Now, in order to fix that, instead of giving them more space, we cut off their beaks. So if we start learning this, I didn't know this until recently, and I was kind of appalled. And I started asking, but is it possible for me to make sure that the eggs that I have doesn't involve beak trimming? And then you'll see some of the progressive grocery stores will, in their animal cruelty policy, say they try and avoid it, but in many circumstances it's still there. So just that kind of kind of curiosity can help us.
Unfortunately, I have to wrap it here. They tell me as my next guest is standing by, but I think you've definitely opened our ears and eyes to a lot of things today. And we're going to do a little bit better, and endeavor to do a little bit better as individuals. That was Skalk Engelbrecht, who's a research associate with the Center of Applied Ethics at the University of Stellenbosch. Let's take a quick break here, and then we come back. Warren Masinga is standing by.
It will be a hot affair between the Proteas and the English this summer. Who are the real queens of T20 cricket? Protea Fire meets England at Willowmore Park. What a summer without cricket! This is the third and final Women's T20 international match, where summer cricket comes alive. South Africa versus England on Saturday 30 November at 6 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and reports on various SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Northwest Provincial Legislature Portfolio Committee on Premier and Finance, led by Honorable Nathan Oliphant, will conduct public hearings on Division of Revenue Amendment Bill 2024 on the 28th November 2024 at Tsidilamolomo Tribal Hall in Tsidilamolomo near Mahikeng, Matwang Community Hall in Matwang near Potchefstroom, Coverdale Community Hall in Bloemhof, and Lehonyane Community Hall in Lehonyane near Brads. All hearings start at 10.
Think festive season. Can you hear it? See it? Now imagine it purple. Yes, forget the tinsel, because Click season is purple. It's that time of the year for the famous Clicks 3 for 2 purple sticker promotion. Mix and match any 3 festive gifts with a purple sticker and get the cheapest one free. Clicks. Feel good, pay less. Deals valid until 24 December or while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Stages, pages, screens, and more on the Full Circle.
All right. Interesting. Okay. We're trying to figure out what is going on the other side. Warren is on the line and is on hold. Warren, if you can hear me, this would be the time for you to take off that on hold button. So apparently we are connected with him. He's just put us on hold. And I'm not too sure if he has the ability to hear us saying that we are now live. What was that famous video? Jessica, we are live. Jessica, we are live. Warren, we are live. So we're supposed to be talking to multi-award winning actor Warren Masinga. And of course, he needs no introduction whatsoever. He's an award-winning South African actor, and he's best known for his roles in blockbuster movies like Five Fingers for Marseilles, The Number, and of course, he was also in Vaya and a whole host of other things. My team is desperately trying to send a bat signal to have him unhold the line. So we've been connected with him, but he's just playing bed music in the background. Warren, are you there?
Oh.
How are you?
Hey, Bridget.
Are you good?
I'm good. I'm just visiting home in Pretoria in Soshanguva. I almost missed the interview. But hello to you.
Listen, we were about to send a bat signal because we were like, well, if anybody is listening to us and they are standing in front of Warren, tell him to unhold us, unmute us. We are now live.
Hello, listeners. Hello, Bridget. Hello, South Africa. Hello, SAE.
Thank you for making the time. Let's get straight into it. I mean, you've got a laundry list of credits as long as one's arm, and with every role and character that you sort of take on, there's just an incredible dedication that comes through with your work. I've never heard anybody give you a bad criticism. What does that speak to, Warren? Does that speak to a sense of dedication and respect for the craft? What is it about you in particular as a performer that just makes you bring the most exceptional performances to everything that you do?
As you put the question to me, I reflect on my current situation and location and environment. I am in the heart of Mabopane in the north of Pretoria, and I'm here to suck on culture because everything that I do and the characters that I portray are not influenced by what Warren Masamela knows, but particularly and directly emulating the personas of the people that I meet in my general walks of life, which are characters. They don't immediately understand that they are characters, but when I take their experience, apply them to the script that is brought before me, and having to execute it through storytelling, then I have to serve honestly and transparently to say, this is who the character is. It's not Warren Masamela. So I find it in my many walks of life, and this is why you will find me in many weird and awkward spaces for the next person who doesn't know a Warren Masamela to say, how are you there and why are you there? You should be in sentence.
Yeah. What you say speaks to a sentiment that acting is perhaps a study of human behavior and reaction.
Absolutely, because that is my trade. My life is to observe people on a daily. And as a contract worker, whenever I am contracted, then I portray the role. Then for me, it's just doing justice to every other citizen that doesn't know the human life experience that they encounter on a daily until they come to contact with it through a character, watching them on a theater stage or in a film or a television series or soap, etc.
And tell me this. Tell me, sort of a younger Warren who was still, a student of film and theater. For you, who sort of in those young observations embodied the sentiment for you, where you looked at them and you thought, now that is a performer par excellence and someone whose feet I'd like to sit at and suck from them the knowledge of how one does this at such an incredible level?
Before I knew that this was my talent and my gift from my ancestors and the Creator, I always grew up watching Martin Lawrence, the Jimmy Fox Show, the Benny Mac Show. So that was... I imagine sitcom growing up, and I didn't know the title, but emulating them and recording them on VHS, I was just lucky enough, not so fortunate, but lucky enough around the era for my family to have VHS and to dub cassettes. And that was what my siblings and I were doing. My older sister and I were always emulating 0 Hour Zone music videos and sitcoms like Martin Lawrence and the Jimmy Fox Show. I did it so well that I didn't register then that I am building the future Warren Masamela that we have now on a call in an interview.
Would you classify yourself as a sort of would you box yourself in genre as a performer? Because actually, when you listed all, and by the way, I love Bernie Mac. When you listed all the TV shows and series that you consumed, it spoke a lot to comedy. And yet you have such a variety of depth in you, right? A lot of what you've done on television, a lot of the characters have had some comedic timing and element to them, but a lot of what you do in theater is completely different. There's a seriousness to it. There's a deeper sort of depth to it.
Realness.
A realness to it. So I wonder, would you characterize yourself in any one particular genre, or that just becomes inhibiting?
Really, as I said it earlier on, I'm just inhibiting real life experiences and telling their story whenever I'm awarded the opportunity. Because in theater, there is no cut. You just run for an hour, 30 minutes, which is 90 minutes, or 3 hours, or an hour, or 30 minutes. There is no cut. But in film and television, there is always a cut to refine the craft. So being a theater-trained artist, performer, I draw from that. And my life experience, it really brings it to the fore. It is my concern. It is my passion. It is everything I'd rather do when I'm not amongst people, my siblings, my family, cousins, relatives, the community, society, traveling, passports and visas. I found later in life, not so late because I'm so young, that my role, God-given and ancestral given talent, is to tell the stories, and not just my stories. And when sometimes people beg to ask, what stories should we be looking for from you? And I say, they will truly come in time, because I believe we still do have time. But at the moment, I'm serving.
Yeah.
And this is why I serve with honesty, and I'm proud of that.
We're talking to a multi-award winning actor, Warren Masimula. He joins us now. And by the way, he's just joined the cast of SABC1's Skim Sam. And he's going to be appearing on our screens very soon. Oh, no, you started already appearing in October, if I'm not mistaken, right?
On the 4th of November, yeah.
Okay, 4th of November. And he's got many accolades under his belt. He's also a 4-time South African Film and Television Award winner. So highly celebrated, highly respected performer of both television, film and theatre. And let me ask you this that's got nothing to do with your work as an artist, and it has everything to do with you as an entrepreneur and a businessman. Because I'm sure you caught sight of the Twitter chatter that was happening last week, when a lot of people said, well, listen, here's a good brother here who's out there hustling outside of what we know him for, selling fresh produce, selling to community, doing his thing, and we should all rally behind him and support him. There's the sentiment around how, once people become celebrated, they can't just do the normal. And from what I gathered from Twitter was people saying, you know what we respect about Warren is it not only is he respected and celebrated and really great at what we know him for, but here he is being out in our communities, being a normal businessman and trying to hustle his business from the ground up. What's your thoughts about sort of when you see people, have a little glimpse into your life, and share a whole host of opinions and perspectives?
I'll sum it up to you and South Africans on SAFM. It was a campaign I was contracted to, and I was paid like some beautiful money by the club, Sundowns Football Club, and it was a campaign to try to find the best song that would get somebody, a South African, to win 1 million rand. So over the phase of the contract, I had to influence. So I found myself pregnant in Lewakomo, and there was an elder selling oranges, and I had to get oranges for the family, my in-laws. And the young man recognized me, and the father didn't know me. So the young man recognized me for my work. And he asked and begged for a picture. I said, you don't have to beg. I can take a picture with you. Took a picture with him, and my wife then said, let's take a picture of you, the boy, and the father will comprehend later, right? And so we did those shots for the family's happiness. And then eventually I was like, let me take a picture individually by myself so that I can use this picture as opposed to whoever that is out there trying to grab 1 million rand. They don't have to sell oranges for 30 rands. All they need to do is to just enter their song that speaks to what Sundowns Football Club is.
You just
and so
dented
it spiraled
people's...
to something else. And so I was like 50-50 about it. I was like, the message is being miscommunicated, but it's also equally inspiring. So I somewhat just let it ride. I was like, if it inspires Mkabele or Mgubeni or a Boiki, let it run to say that do not be shy to put bread on your table. But that was not the case in my case. But in the same time and in the same breath, I was also making my bread through Sundowns, trying to get somebody to win a million rand. So, yeah, good publicity is bad publicity, and bad publicity. You know what they say about that.
Yeah, no, I completely get you for saying, in part, the debate internally for you was, do I correct the narrative or do I let it stand because of what it would do for someone else? I mean, for those who are listening and who saw the picture on Twitter and were part of the conversation, you've just hurt them a little bit, but I also feel like we live in a world where you can never satisfy anybody, because I also get the you letting it be as it is, because I think that image really did inspire, the conversation that was happening underneath the picture, and I don't even know how it landed on my timeline, but the general sentiment was that it is an inspiration to see somebody doing exactly that, putting bread on their table.
Good.
Fabulous. Warren, we've run out of time. I mean, I literally have 30 seconds with you, but we'll be seeing you on our screens, and we thank you for taking the time to be in conversation with us. Have a great Christmas, by the way, with the family, if we don't get to catch up before then.
Namaste, namasko.
Namasko. That was Warren Masamula, who is a multi-award winning actor. And of course, he's just joined us here on SABC, on SABC One's Scheme Sum. So he's forming part of that cast. And it started airing, the new season started airing, featuring his episodes earlier on in the month. Let's get to the top of the hour with the news. Ondela is standing by.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.7 FM in Cape Town.
Thank you, Bridget. Top stories at 2. Over 1,000 extortion cases reported since April, and calls for South African men to end GBV. For SAFM News, I am Ondela, and a very good day. The SAPS says nearly 1,500 extortion cases have been reported in the country since April. Gauteng, Western Cape and Eastern Cape have recorded the highest number of cases. Nationally, 658 arrests have been made. SAPS Head of Detectives Lieutenant General Nkosi Sentumele Mkunu shared their plan to curb escalating extortion in the country with Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police. The policy's latest quarterly crime statistics show that the number of murders, rapes and robberies in KwaZulu-Natal decreased between July and September compared to the same period last year. Police Minister Senzo Mchunu released the country's quarterly crime statistics earlier this week. Areas such as Inanda and Nduzuma in the Durban Metro in Pietermaritzburg remain among the country's top 10 hotspots of crimes, including cash-in-transit heist and hijacking of trucks. Dres Liebenberg reports.
Across KwaZulu-Natal, 19 of the 30 crime categories have shown a decrease in the number of counts that have been registered by the police between July and September, compared to the same period last year. These include murder, which is 10% down, rape, down by 3%, and carjackings, down by 17%. The statistics also show that house robberies have decreased by 14 cases to 1,357. Housebreakings and theft of motor vehicles in the province are down by 13% and 6% respectively. I am Dries Liebenberg for SABC News in Durban.
Electricity and Energy Minister Josientro Ramokgopa says Eskom is losing about 2.5 billion rand a month due to people who do not pay for electricity without justification. The so-called zero buyers customers include those who consume electricity using illegal connections. Ramokgopa briefed MPs and the media at Parliament earlier today.
So take 2.1 million household customers, multiply by 1,200. There's 2.5 billion rands per month that Eskom is losing as a result of zero buyer. Compute that over a period of a year, Eskom is losing 30 billion. And I can tell you that on the side of municipality, it's significantly more. The last time we came here, I shared with you how much our municipalities owe. They are owed 340 billion collectively. A significant proportion of that is people who are just not paying.
Some of the men taking part in the 16 days of activism against gender march in Bloemfontein say it is time men took a firm stand against the scourge. They say adding their voice and activism to denounce violence and killing of women and children will make a difference. Scores of men from all sectors of society, including government and civil movements, joined the march led by Acting Free State Premier Jabu Mbalula to emphasize the government's campaign towards addressing the root causes of GBV as well as promoting positive masculinity. Some had this to say.
I joined this march because I'm against the brutality of women and children, and equally we condemn the actions that are taking place in our communities whereby we find people that are having anger issues, management, now they're taking it out on women and children. But this march is a clear demonstration of us condemning this brutality or the actions.
No, we're here because gender-based violence is something that affects our community in a negative way. So us as men in the Free State and in the whole country, we're taking a stand against gender-based violence because it's something that we don't need in our country.
In international news, Poland and Ukraine say they've made progress in resolving a historical dispute over massacres during the Second World War. The Polish government estimates that about 100,000 Poles were killed in the last 2 years of the war in the Rivne and Volhynia regions, now in western Ukraine. Warsaw considers it a genocide. Following talks with his Ukrainian counterpart in Warsaw, Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski said the two countries would work together. Recapping the top story, the SAPS says nearly 1,500 extortion cases have been reported in the country since April. Gauteng, Western Cape and the Eastern Cape have recorded the highest number of cases. I'm Ondilambana for SAFM News. Headlines at 2:30.
The Green and Gold want to reignite the Protea fire against the Lions of Sri Lanka in the Test Series. What is summer without cricket? Wozanawe! Catch the spectacular first Test Series between South Africa and Sri Lanka at the Hollywood Bets Kingsmead Stadium, where summer cricket comes alive. From 27 November to 1 December 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus, Radio 2000, and reports on various SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Alrighty, we are back. It's just gone at 2 o'clock. So ordinarily, after 2 o'clock, we'd play you your palate cleanser. So you're probably wondering, why is she on air? I'm here. If you're streaming, you can see that our studio is completely filled with young gentlemen, ever looking so fabulous, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ranging from, how old are you? 12? Oh, you know what? I almost aged you smaller. My apologies. From 12 and probably, who's the oldest? What's the oldest? How old are you?
15.
15. All right. So I'm going to step aside You guys ready? We've got the Drakensberg Boys Choir coming to us live this afternoon. They've been in Joburg and they're currently on the 2024 Noel tour, and they thought they'd pop into studio after hanging out with Kutlwano on Saturday. They'd pop into a studio and sing us a song or two, and we get to catch up as well around life at Drakensberg Boys. So, gents, I mean, you'll know how to cue yourselves and count yourselves in. Can you give us a little number? And then we'll get into our conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
Sanbonani nonke nisaphila nje wabakithi sanbonani ololo sanbonani ololo sanbonani ololo nisaphila nje sanbonani nonke nisaphila nje wabakithi sanbonani ololo sanbonani ololo sanbonani ololo nisaphila nje siphuma kudele sihlangene ngesimanga somculo thokoza nathiwe sijabulele siphuma kudele siphuma emzinaweni ngezilalabo sihlangene ngesimanga somculo thokoza nathiwe sijabulele sashaya ingoma sayivuma ingoma sashaya ingoma sayivuma ingoma sashaya thina we sashaya ingoma sayivuma ingoma sashaya ingoma sayivula ingoma Fuma Drakis Choir 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 Drakis Choir, Fuma Drakis Choir, Fuma Drakis Choir, Fuma Drakis Choir. Sanbonani nonke nisaphila nje, wabakithi sanbonani, ololo sanbonani, ololo sanbonani, ololo nisaphila nje.
Woohoo! I mean, you've got an audience of like 5 here. You can clap. Like, woohoo! Well done, gents. I know it's a tight squeeze. Apologies. Can I just ask this fabulous young man here? I'm going to ask you, right in front of me, I'm going to ask you to just take a seat on that chair behind you, just so I can have an eye of sight to my technician in that little window. There we go. How's everybody doing? That was the impeccably talented Drakensberg Boys Choir that have joined us in studio today, and they are currently on their 2024 Noel tour. kicked off on the 22nd of November and it's running until the 1st of December. So this Sunday is the final day to get to catch them in performance. And they've been dazzling audiences all around. Eswatini, Pretoria. They were with my colleague Kutlwano just this past weekend, and they're doing amazing things. And joining us now with the boys is musical director Vaughan van Sail. Vaughan, yes? Vaughan van Sail. How are you? Yes, you can drop it. You can drop
Bridget,
it.
thank you very much, and good afternoon to you and all your listeners. It's a privilege to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming through. We appreciate it. Did you get your exercise in, your 10,000 steps? Apologies. You come to the SABC when our lifts are doing things. So at least it warms up the chest, right?
Absolutely, no problem. It opens up the lungs and, you know, and let the blood flow.
Absolutely. Now, listen, let's talk about the history of the school, Drakensberg Boys Choir, because it's something. I grew up in KZN. I'm a Durban girl, so I grew up quite familiar that there is this choir. But do people still recognize the fact that there's this incredible, talented choir that comes out of this tiny school in the middle of the mountains?
Absolutely, Bridget. You know that we are the only. We're the only boys' choir school on the continent of Africa, and have been like that for decades. You know, for nearly 60 decades.
Wow.
And you know you say that from the school in the mountains where this choir comes from, but it's the world's amazed by it. You know, wherever we go across the world, you know, to see this wonderful product from the tip of Africa, which is South Africa, and being in the Drakensberg is just it's just absolutely wonderful, and to you know, because the school was started in the Drakensberg in 1967, and the founders felt back then, you know, the boys worked so hard. And it was the way of the then Tange family, the founders, to give back to the boys, you know, being in those surroundings and the beautiful mountains. You know, it's for them to enjoy that.
Is Drakensberg, I mean, from my perception, it's essentially a music school, right? Like we have the National School of the Arts in Joburg, you guys have a school that is essentially a music school.
So yes, what we like the music school of the arts here in Joburg, they specialize in all the musical instruments and all of that. We specialize in choir. But having said that, we have got a full-on functioning music department. So the boys are in the choir. They're there in the choir school to be in the choir, because we rehearse choir 2 hours per day, and we have at least one concert per week.
Really?
But then the majority of boys do instruments, you know, percussion, piano, guitar, violin, saxophone, and all of that. So they let me say, they get the best of two worlds, and we've got wonderful staff and teachers.
Talk to us about how the school has evolved. I mean, I'm preoccupied with arts and cultures and arts and culture broadcast, and so I touch base a lot, for instance, with the National School of the Arts, and I know the struggles that they've had in recent years, just keeping their doors open and keeping the support, and we've had to galvanize the entire city to rally behind them, because the work that they do for the creative sector is so fundamental. So now I wonder, you know, when you are sort of closed off from the main eyes and the main ears, and you're secluded in Drakensberg in a safe community, in a safe space with your boys, but you're obviously going through things as a school as well. How has the school managed to ride through time from 1960 odd to 2024?
Yes, Bridget, that's a very good question, because the school's had its challenges over the years and over the decades, but we're in a time now where it's most probably the most challenging, and it's been like that for the last 4 years because of COVID, and that has had a huge impact on us as a school, because we only have about 100 to 110 boys at full capacity, and the numbers are not that at the moment, and are starting to look good for next year. But the COVID thing has had a huge impact. But because for 2 years, in the first time in the school's history and the choir's history, the choir could not tour and recruit. Touring recruitment goes hand in hand, and for 2 years we couldn't do that. there is still a huge interest from boys out there who want to come to the school because we audition many of them.
Yeah.
But then again, finances is the problem. Not all parents can afford the school fees because we are a private school. We get no help from the government. We don't have huge big sponsorships. So any boy who is at our school on financial help it's basically private.
Yeah.
But we are busy working on a bursary fund. So, if any people would like to get involved in that, they're more than welcome to contact the school. Because, like you said, with the School of the Arts now, the Drakensberg Boys Choir School is really a national asset.
Yeah.
And like the School of the Arts. And we... The choir has really, we call them our singing ambassadors.
Yeah.
Because you look at this, they represent, our wonderful, absolutely brilliant South Africa, our country, and it's important that they go for another couple of 60 years.
Absolutely. And in fact, when you talk about, the boys being ambassadors, I think, I've never stepped on your campus at all, and I grew up in KZN, but I think Drakensberg Boys Choir, and I can already see that blue and the white,
Yes.
and, so I know the image is so ingrained in me as this choir being part of South African identity, and such a necessary thing. And when you think about also just how does the impact or the interest in choral music also affect, the school's ability to draw attention to younger students? Because I know, was it UJ just last month that celebrated a milestone with their choir? I think it was UJ, right? 50 years of their choir or
Yes.
100 years of their choir, something like that.
That's correct. And it's so, yes, you see, this is the Drakensberg Boys Choir is really one of the very few choirs, I don't know how many are out there, where, and this has been the thing that the choir has worked on since the beginning days, where they must probably one of the most versatile choirs in the world because they can sing anything from classical, now Mozart, Bach, any of those works to contemporary, more pop. And like at the moment, our whole second half program is what we call Afro Pop, which is a celebration of great legends, South African singers and music legends like Lebo M, Mama Maria Makeba, Johnny Clegg, Mango Groove and all of that. And that goes hand in hand together with mega choreography and dancing and singing at the same time. So the versatility, so it's very, very appealing.
Yeah.
We had one boy in the audience last night who actually literally stood up and started dancing in the first show, and he came to audition afterwards for
the choir.
Yes.
So the tours really do help with the recruitment.
Absolutely.
They really do put the choir in front of potential students.
Absolutely, it's vital. It's absolutely vital because it's not just maybe with boys present in the concert that evening, but maybe family members with a family member who's got a little boy out there who's not at the concert, to say, this is something that you've got to have a look at.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, I'm an old boy myself of the school. So I know what it is and what the school does, and we do at the moment we do auditions for boys who are interested who are currently grade 3 to grade 7, and these auditions we do after every concert, or the parents can contact the school and we can do the auditions even over the phone, which we learned during COVID.
Lovely. Okay, I want to talk to one or two of you guys, and I don't know who wants to talk to me. Any volunteers? Let's see. You volunteer? It's always the little ones that volunteer. How are you? And you, youngster. Okay. All right. Oh, who do we got? Well, we'll just stick to our volunteers. What's your name? Tell me. That's mic number 3, Fee. Yes, come closer to that mic. Yes, you.
My name's Lulo.
Lulo.
Lulo Dlane. Yes.
Lulo, where do you come from?
I'm from Port Elizabeth.
Port Elizabeth. Okay, what attracted you to Drakensberg Boys Choir?
Specifically, the fact that at my previous school, I was already music-based.
Yeah.
And coming here allowed me to actually embrace the music. And it opened up a lot of more opportunities musically than my previous school.
All right, I like that. Okay, who was the other one? Who is you? Come. How are you? Yes.
I'm very well, ma'am.
Good. What's your name?
I'm Mias Extrian, ma'am.
Yes.
Mias, ma'am.
Mias.
Yes.
That's a wonderful name.
Thank you.
What's the heritage of that name?
Ma'am, it comes from, my full name is Jeremiah, ma'am, so it just comes from
Jeremiah.
Yes,
Mias. How old are you?
Ma'am, I'm 13, ma'am.
I love how they call me ma'am, make me sound so old. You're 13.
Yes, ma'am.
13 is grade
7.
Grade 7. And how long have you been with the choir?
I joined last year, ma'am.
Last year. You enjoying it?
Yes, ma'am, very much, ma'am.
Really? Yeah,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
could see you light up when you were singing. You
Yes,
were
ma'am.
having a good time.
Thank you.
Eh? Lovely to meet you guys. Okay, who's Zippo? Which one of you gents is Zippo? You are Zippo. Come here, Zippo. Tell me about yourself. How are you?
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm great. And how old are you?
Ma'am, I'm 15, ma'am.
15. Also grade
9, ma'am.
9.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've been with the choir for how long?
Well, ma'am, this is my 5th year, ma'am. I joined in 2020, ma'am.
Your 5th year. Okay, tell me about the journey. How has it been?
Well, ma'am, it was kind of very shaky, ma'am.
Okay.
But it's been a great journey. I joined like just before COVID started, so
Yes.
I saw the school's progression through this hard time, and obviously that's come with a lot of hardships and a lot of bad things. But I honestly feel that all of the stuff that's happened throughout the school's journey in these 5 years, and everything that's happened to me, and all the values that I've learned, especially from being in the school, regardless of whether it was COVID or not, I think that's really shaped me into the person that I am now and the man that I'm going to grow up to be.
Oh, wonderful.
And I feel that from a musical point of view, I think it's shaped a lot of us as grade 9s in the room. I think they can all agree with me that they're ready for their next schools. And as jockeys, we're wanted by most of the big private schools in KZN, as you would know, Mike House, Hilton, Kearsley.
Yeah.
And they all look for us because we've got a jockey factor that not many other schools can brood in their boys. And that's what I think is so special about jockeys, that they can actually mold the boys from a musical perspective and from a life perspective to get them to be the men of tomorrow.
Oh, look at you. So listen, when I was your age, I certainly was not sounding like that. Hey, so you guys are a bit of like a feeder pipeline for the other schools in the Midlands. Okay, I like. When did the boys fade out? Because everyone here, so 15, 16?
So it's grade 9. Yeah,
Grade
at
9.
the end of the grade 9, then
your voice breaks.
it's always been no. The boys like Zipo, look, their voices, because they're not adults, haven't like totally finally broken. But we're SATB, which means soprano, alto, tenor, bass. So when their voices start breaking, they just go to the lower voice group.
Oh.
So the school, since its existence, has only gone up to grade 9 and started in grade 4, except for 1 year in the very early 70s, where they for 1 year took in grade 3s.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that. You know what? I want to play the ad break quickly, Fee. Let's play the ad break quickly, and we'll give the boys time to regroup, and then we'll come back and we'll get a closing number from them.
The Green and Gold want to reignite the Protea fire against the Lions of Sri Lanka in the Test Series. What is summer without cricket? Wozanawe! Catch the spectacular first Test Series between South Africa and Sri Lanka at the Hollywood Bets Kingsmead Stadium, where summer cricket comes alive. From 27 November to 1 December 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus, Radio 2000, and reports on various SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Alrighty, if you're just joining us, we're joined by the Drakensberg Boys Choir, and we thought before we let them go, perhaps they give us a little bit of a Christmas cheer just to get us in the mood.
On the bounce, it's silver bounce, all cities say, no cares away. Christmas is young, ding in the church, too young and old, big and a bold, ding dong and dong, that is the song, with drumming, all caroling. One seems to hear words of a cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, and they bounce, living the song, oh, living the filling the song, caroling, rolling the song, toys of the cheer, Christmas is young, ding a ling a dong, ding a dong, ding a ling a dong, ding a dong. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. On the bounce, it's a bounce, oh, 67 dog is away. Christmas is young, banging with jam, too young and old, dong and the ball, ding dong and dong, that is the song, with your foreign, all caroling. One seems to hear words of the cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, and the ball, raising the song, oh, and then filling the song, caroling, rolling the song, toys of the cheer, Christmas is young, ding-a-ling-a-dong, ding-a-ling-a-dong, ding-a-ling-a-dong.
eyes, literal gooses. I wish you could see their facial expressions. Must they be so serious with the eyes? Like, they are so all so focused and like watching everything that the musical director is doing.
They do. They have to be. They've got to watch the conductor. It's not just because of me being their musical director, but if they are put in any sort of like form of concert where there's like a guest conductor, they've got to be able to follow the person, person they don't know. But then it's also just a focus thing. It's a discipline thing. But then again, something like Afro pop, which is our second half. We've even got songs in our first half where the conductor sits down and then they watch the audience. So and they're very they as I said, they are extremely versatile. It's such a privilege to work with them on a daily basis for all of us.
Oh, listen, you guys are just so incredibly talented. Literally, we're so blessed to have had you all today. Tell me a bit about because you've got your final shows this weekend. So for our audiences that are listening, if there's still time for them to grab a ticket or two, I think it's a wonderful way to just begin the festive season, bring the family out, support the school, support the boys, and get to experience all of this fabulousness.
Absolutely, Bridget. So we've got, like you said, our Know Well program, which is filled with wonderful carols, Christmas music. Some of them very well known, and other sort of like new ones. But it's, tomorrow night we are in Ingekerk, Weltevreden, which is in Roerepoort. Concert starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and then 7 o'clock Friday night is at Delta Community Church in Vereniging, and then 6 o'clock in the evening at Heronbridge College in Johannesburg, and then the afternoon at 3 o'clock we in the Etienne Rousseau Theatre in Sasolburg. And the public can buy tickets online on our at www.dbchoir.com. And then I just also want to mention that from the 6th until the 8th of December. We close on the 8th of December for the year, but that's that weekend is our Christmas in the Berg Festival at the Drakensberg Boys Choir School.
Ooh.
And Noel concerts. There's some other concerts that the boys do as well.
Yeah.
And it's really festive. It's a great festival to attend. And Bridget, we hope to see you soon at our school.
I mean, listen, I think it's a bit too late for this year, but I'm going to definitely pencil it in because I want to see you all in your environment.
Yes.
So I think in 2025, I'm going to make a big deal weekend out of it. And I come through. But for those who can make it, 6th and 7th of December, Christmas in the Berg with the guys. Because I think when you see them in the environment, it's even better.
Absolutely. In our environment, and we've got our own wonderful auditorium. We do our concerts. And I always say we perform everywhere in the world in the most wonderful places, really. But that's home, at our auditorium, the Ken Mackenzie Auditorium at the Drakensberg Boys Choir School. And there's just something magic to experience the boys in that auditorium. I mean, it's magic to experience them, but there's a different, other kind of magic in our auditorium.
Absolutely. www.dbchoir.com is where you can go to get tickets for the current Noel tour. And they are performing in and around Johannesburg as well as Sasolburg. And of course, I think on that site is where you can also track all their performances going into the new year. So you make sure that you get ahead of their calendar. Gents, thank you so much for coming through. You guys are rock stars. Looking forward to what the future holds for y'all, and we appreciate y'all serenading our audiences today. That was the Drakensberg Boys Choir. Onde Lampana is standing by with the headline news, and then on the other side of that we get into Kids Corner.
Thank you, Bridget. In your news headlines, the ANC Women's League says this week's march to the union buildings will also raise awareness on the impact that the recent spaza shop crisis has on female-headed households. Residents of Soweto say they need more than a month to comply with Eskom's recoding process. Some of them say they also need more time to start paying for electricity. And a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah has officially come to effect. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
SABC Education, in partnership with the Department of Health and Ilifa Labantwana, bring you another episode of Side by Side Drama, Season 4, Episode 4, focused on not discriminating between girls and boys in early childhood development.
Say and say. Side by side.
Grade 7s. Today we're going to explore one of the most fascinating aspects of our natural world. An ecosystem is a community of living organisms interacting with each other and their environment. Now, within these ecosystems, every creature plays a critical role. They depend on each other for survival.
He is so wonderful. That smile. Oh my gosh, his voice.
Take bees, for example. Why do you think they're important in an ecosystem? Imange.
I could listen to him talk the whole day.
Imange. Imange.
Yes, sir?
Why are bees important?
'Cause they make honey?
Yes, they do make honey, but there's more. Bees are vital pollinators. They help plants to reproduce by carrying pollen. Without bees, many plants we rely on for food would struggle to survive.
Come on, keep yourself together, Imange.
Sakumzi, could you grab the eggs from the fridge? I want to make us a really good breakfast before my early meeting with Ubabal.
Wow, Joyce, my love, speaking of starting the day right, have we thought about starting other things, you know what I mean? Like maybe expanding our family.
Oh, Sakumzi, can we not do this now? I've got a lot on my mind with the clinic.
Come on, Joyce. It's a beautiful morning, man. Perfect for talking about possibilities. Like having a little one running around, you know?
We already have Ritabile.
But imagine, my darling Joyce, a little boy, someone to carry on the family name. The one who'll be playing soccer with me in the yard.
That's a very big decision, Sakumzi.
I know. But think about it. Wouldn't it help Tabby's social and emotional development if she had a little brother?
I love our family just as it is. And with my work, adding another child would be a lot. Plus, Utabi is fine. She doesn't really need a little brother.
But we can manage, Joyce. We always do. I really want a son, you know?
I need to go, Sakums. We'll talk about this later, okay?
Joyce, wait. I'm serious about this. We need to talk, my darling.
Love you. Bye.
Well, that went well.
Look at this place, Babalwa. It's perfect for Usipogazi. She'll learn so much here.
Yes, it does look nice, Sis Joyce. But are you sure it's safe?
Absolutely. They have great facilities and the teachers are so caring. Just imagine Sipogazi making friends, learning new things.
But that corner over there, Sis Joyce, it does not look very child-friendly. What if Usipogazi gets hurt? And the boys play rough, Pella. She's way too young to be in creche.
They prioritize safety here, Babalwa. And social interaction is so important at her age. It helps with emotional and social development.
I don't know, Joyce. Maybe it's not the right time yet. I can't do it.
Babalwa, she needs this. It's more than just play. It's about her growing up healthy and happy. And you can't tend to her 24/7 at work. Didn't you say that your boss told you not to bring Sipogazi to work anymore?
Yes, but
the teachers here are trained to take care of all her needs. You can rest assured that they will definitely look after her.
I need more time to think. I'm not enrolling her today.
Are you sure?
Yes, and that is the end of it. Now let's go.
Okay. What a day.
Oh, welcome, babe. Hey. I ran you a bath. You must be so tired.
Phew, I really need one.
About this morning, love?
Sakumsi, I've spent the whole day talking and arguing with Ubabalwa. Can I just relax?
But Joyce, this morning you also didn't want to talk about it.
I told you, no, I don't want more children. I'm happy with my family the way it is.
But Joyce, I thought we wanted a child when we got married.
Well, Sakumsi, things change.
So you lied to me?
No, I didn't lie. Look, can we please do this another time? I'm really, really tired.
It's not like you're giving me any choice.
I'm sorry, okay? I've given you my answer. Now, please, let me just enjoy a bath.
Oh, no.
Thank you for listening to Side by Side, the drama that supports you to give your child the best possible start in life. Brought to you by the National Department of Health, Ilifa Labantwana, and the SABC Education. Join us again tomorrow as we sit down with an expert at 2:30 to further discuss not discriminating between girls and boys in early childhood development, right here on SAFM.
And say, Side by Side.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Get ready to honor Madiba's legacy together. Join us on 8 December at the Union Buildings in Tshwane, Gauteng, as we pay tribute to Nelson Mandela with the Mandela Remembrance Walk and Run. There's a distance for everyone: 21 kilometers, 10-kilometer run, and a 5-kilometer scenic walk. Enjoy loads of entertainment and plenty of fun for the kids. If you can't be there in person, you can participate from wherever you are, uniting with thousands around the country to honor Nelson Mandela's vision of unity, equality, and a just society. All proceeds will support the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Register now at mandelawalkandrun.com. Let's come together to remember Madiba. In proud partnership with Gauteng Province, the City of Tshwane, and SABC Sport. See you there. Let's make it a day to remember.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is back. After receiving hundreds of entries last year from South African writers of different ages and ethnic groups sharing their stories, now the time is yours. It's your story. You decide. SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound, the theatre of the mind, and to create a 1-hour radio play in English. Get writing now and submit your play before the 3rd of February 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 large cash prizes. For more information, visit safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Alrighty, we're in the final stretch of the show. Here's a question for you. Have you ever tried going into business with your family? And how is that for you? What went right and what went wrong? I'd love to know. Have you ever tried going into business with your family? What went right, what went wrong? We'd love to know your experiences. 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. You can send me a WhatsApp voice note, or you can give me a call on 086 000 2032. And if you fear that maybe it will not sit well with the family member when you share the story of being in business with them, particularly if it was a not so pleasant experience, then you can always share it anonymously. But I'm always curious about, when family members go into business together, because a lot of the times you hear horror stories of how things ended up, and ultimately it affected the relationship between the folks. So I'm curious to know if you've been in business with your family and what was that experience like for you, or perhaps what are the, let's say, advantages and challenges of going into business or being in business with a family member. It could be your sibling, it could be your parents, your aunt and uncle. Even maybe going into business with your friends, what are some of the potential advantages and challenges that one has experienced in that kind of setting? Joining me now, we're catching up with Janisha Raghubier, who is the area manager at Business Partners Limited. And we're having this conversation because of the conversation we're going to have with Janisha, where we're looking at, building a lasting legacy through family businesses. And South Africans, oftentimes we're reminded of the importance of legacy, right? But not just in culture as well as in business. And we're just having that exploration around building these lasting legacies through resilience, innovation, and of course, strong family ties, or at least we hope that they foster strong family ties. How are you doing this afternoon, Janisha?
Good afternoon, Bridget. I'm well, thanks, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Let's talk about sort of family businesses and the legacy of them. It always seems like a novel idea, this thing of you building something for yourself and your family, but in reality, let's look at the potential of success for family businesses and perhaps what that speaks to should they go on to build something successful, something sustainable, and something that sort of lasts from generation to generation.
Yes, definitely, Bridget. These family businesses certainly have their own set of unique challenges as well as opportunities that come about. However, being able to preserve the values and traditions across generations definitely contributes to the long-term success of these businesses. And that's done really through a lot of resilience, loyalty, as well as dedication to the family legacy that needs to be maintained with the family members that are in that business. And that starts largely with the new generations that are coming in. So yes, the older generations have started these businesses and built them, and now you've got newer generations joining the business, or the future successors of that business. And it's very important that these newer generations are introduced to the business at a much earlier stage, which then allows them to learn and understand the values and traditions of these businesses, which then become entrenched in them. So when it is time for them to take over these businesses, they are in a good position. And further to this, by introducing these new generations much earlier in the business, we see that they then become very passionate about entrepreneurship. They want to follow the career of entrepreneurship. And with them then being very passionate about it, they then want to see the success of that business, and not only for the financial gain for themselves and their families, but also they want to see that legacy live on. They become proud of the family legacy. They want to build it for their future generations to come. So that's really where it begins, and it's a very important point to look at with these family businesses that we've seen. And in most of these cases where you see that they are able to stand the test of time, or move on from generation to the next, you've got very strong family leadership, which is very, very important. You've got good family leadership at the top that's able to then work with the family members that are in the team, get their buy-in, allow them to work as a team, trust each other, and really be able to rely on each other. And that is the core of a family business, being able to trust and rely on each other. And once they can do that,
Janisha?
They can work together towards the common forward.
Yeah, sorry, we just dipped out there for a second, but all information was completely not lost on us. Let's talk about this. You talk around family businesses having the sort of being centralized around the preservation of value and tradition. But when you're bringing in different generations into a business, right, there's different also social dynamics that impact different generations at a time. And so perhaps in the instance where there is a challenge of vision as to where the business should be moving towards, or where the business should be positioning come the future, how do families in business and partnerships sort of work through those kind of hurdles? Because it's not just a debate between two neutral parties here, but it becomes a debate that then's carried into the kitchen and into the family gatherings, where we're not just debating professionally anymore, but the personal emotion also comes into play now, because we are family and we are in business together, but perhaps our visions are not aligning as to, this is where I foresee as the incoming generation, this is where I foresee the business going and growing.
So with the current economic times that we're in, with the increase in competitiveness in the fast changing economy, as much as yes, with these family businesses, there is values and traditions that are passed on, or the so-called recipe for success that the previous generation had, that is passed on. The new generation certainly has value to add. They've got new ideas, and that's where the innovation comes in. So with these family businesses, yes, that is very true. It is difficult, especially if it is within an immediate family that is running the business. They do then see each other at home, but I think that separation needs to then take place. So when we're at home, and then when we're at work, as much as we are family, we are business associates in that company, and then they're then able to have that close-knit relationship as a family, but also that openness to be able to say, right, we're all business associates, equals at the table. Let's hear the suggestions from the new generation, the suggestions from the old generation, and be able to strike a balance. So it's very important with these family businesses that the core values and traditions don't actually become a liability to the business. They must not prevent adaptability and innovation in the business, but rather be the background from which they can then move forward. So have a balance between your previous traditions and then a focus on the future for that business.
And as far as resilience is concerned, what kind of strategies do families in business then employ or deploy just to stay relevant, as well as to innovate? To your point about how the landscape is consistently changing, and the business environment is consistently changing, and it speaks to the ability for a business to be agile and adapt in order for it to be actually sustained and carried on from generation to generation.
Yes, I think it's important that they leverage off the skills and knowledge of the new generation, because that's where it stems from. You can actually see it between the various different family businesses, where they have allowed the new generation to become quite involved in the decision-making process, versus the family-run businesses where that does not take place. And the ones where the new generations are certainly well involved in that process, you can see they move away from the traditional approach and how that is benefiting the business, because that then allows, to use the example of technology today, which is very much known amongst the newer generation and certainly an advantage to businesses, and that comes in with allowing the new generation to come in some of the decision making. So yeah, values and traditions entrenched in the old generation, but certainly have to allow the new generation to come in with the new thoughts and ideas that help them remain competitive in the market.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you if you're listening to us, and perhaps you've been in business with a family member. You're currently in business with family members. How is that working out for you? How has that experience been like for you, and perhaps the disadvantages or advantages of being in such a setup, being in business with your family? 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Let's take a quick pause and then we'll come right back.
Germany's biggest rivalry returns to the battlefield. The Klassiker. The Yellow Wall want to repeat what they did in their last clash, but the Reds are counting on the upcoming 90 minutes. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch the German Classico, Borussia Dortmund FC versus Bayern München FC on Saturday, 13 November at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Mzansi, harmful behaviors that lead to gender-based violence and femicide must be unlearned and replaced with positive and respectful actions. Positive actions begin at home with little things: how we speak, how we act, and how we handle conflict. It's about understanding that respect is a non-negotiable right for everyone. We can break the cycle of gender-based violence and femicide, and we must start now. I am Sindisiwe Chikunga, Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. I encourage every South African to join in the fight to end gender-based violence beyond the 16 Days of Activism campaign. A gender-based violence and femicide-free South Africa is possible.
For 30 years, we've stood together, advancing collective action to end violence against women and children. But the fight is far from over. Your voice matters. Every action counts. From educating our communities to supporting survivors, it's time to unite and create a future free from fear. Join SAFM for 16 days of activism. Together we can make a difference. Together we can end the violence. Because 30 years of progress means we cannot stop now. Let's advance the fight. Stand up, speak out, take action. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
This is Bridget. Mrs. Bridget, family business is quite good if you're having like sort of generational inheritance sort of in place. Like for in case the white farmers, what they do like generational inheritance. If you have that kind of mechanism put it in place, it's quite nice. But the one that you find like it was owned by the parents, now the whole family has to come in. Right now, I have a friend who has a business. I was trying to help him, rescue him from whatever. Borrowed him money a month ago. I took my money that I was supposed to be using. Now I'm chasing after him. Yesterday I went to his office, and when I get there, they tell me that company has left the building. So sometimes it's hectic to even work with the people you know.
Absolutely. Vincent in KZN, how are you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm good. Go ahead.
Hi, Bridget. I think there's an element of the generation that plays itself in family businesses. For example, the older generation had a way of formulating a business which is particularly focused. Say, for instance, it's a family that does fashion, they would continue with fashion. But the newer generation do not do the same. They go into multiple ports. So if you were to bring in a business from your generation of old, it becomes irrelevant in the way you're doing things today. You take an example of the DPS group, whose older fathers would go straight to DPS Diamond forever. But today's group will be going into IT, partly mining and partly all other things. So I think it varies like that.
Yeah.
And again, the other challenging aspect on the business is when, if you are boys and then you are joined by your wives, there's an element, you will come up with a very clear pattern of thought from the elders, but the minute the wives kicks in, they come from different environments. They come and think differently and influence you guys differently, and they point to things that are weak, and that can then distract the business. So some of the challenges are things you would not have much control on, but it's a challenge like that.
Got you. Thank you so much, Vincent. Thank you for the call. Definitely pros and cons there. And as we wrap it up, Janisha, from your end, just some sentiments, perhaps in the ways that we do family business, and particularly as South Africans, and some of the things that we should be in consideration of if we talk about, building sectors that sustain us from the ground up.
Yes, Bridget. So, in South Africa, just to round up on family businesses, they really play a significant role in our economy because of the large portion of businesses or SME businesses in South Africa that are actually family businesses. And then talking about sectors, family businesses span across various sectors, but you're looking at specific sectors, for example, the security industry. In recent times, if you look at statistics, just to give you an idea, we've got about 15,000 registered private security businesses, which employ about 2.8 million security officers. That's just to give you an idea of the extent of employment that just that one industry can create. So these small SME businesses, family-owned businesses, have such a large impact in terms of the employment that they can create, and then that's really affecting the broader economy in our country.
Definitely a food for thought, and thank you so much for the conversation. That was Janisha Raghuveer, who is the area manager at Business Partners Limited. If you are in a family business, we wish you the very best, because I think no one gets into business to fail, and when you get into business with a family, your siblings or your friends, you definitely hope that everyone is getting into business with the best intentions, with wanting to build a legacy for yourselves and for your respective families. From me and my team, we appreciate you spending some time with us. We hope that you do it again tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll be here. Hopefully you'll be here as well. That is where we leave it. Ashraf Gada is coming through between 3 and 6. And inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
My name is Vusiwe intokazi yakwaNgcobo ufuze umapholo makhulu mashiyamade engasazoshumayela. When last did I go to a party and how was the experience? I don't party at all. But my parents did have a 40th wedding anniversary as well as my mom's 60th birthday, so that was the last party I went to. Nothing beats partying with older people. It's a lot of fun. Can I sing a short verse of appreciation? What am I gonna sing? Holy, you'll always be. What do I like so much about SABC Sport? It's not even a like, it's a love. I love the fact that we're able to bring real stories to the people of South Africa.